Hello everyone. Of course, I have come again with another session of Mains Enrichment Program out. As you can see now is the high time that you can practice your answer writing in a full mode because mains is not that far away out there. I hope your revision is good. If not, you can do that and can of course enrich your answers based on our timeline or based on our time series. So let me give you an example. For example, today I have come across a topic called poverty. We don't discuss news. We don't discuss out there what's going on. We discuss issues. UPSC is all about issues out there. If you can get a grasp of an issue out there, you can tackle any question out there in the UPSC mains examination out there within 3 years. That's how thing works. First, take an example. If I give you an issue of poverty or woman safety and all these stuff, make sub points, make subheadings, make charts, make statistics, and you can use that without using too much of mind over there, because you won't get any sort of time to think about anything that examination hall out there. 3 hours, it's just a 3 hours, 20 questions, only get 7 to 8 out there to write one 8 or moderate answer out there. So let's discuss a theme called poverty out. Let's discuss a theme called poverty. So India's poverty and inequality challenge, and question has repeatedly been asked there in the UPSC examination, be or mains, about this theme. It's extremely important out there that you can get a good hold over this topic. Otherwise, you'll miss out on a big time, because it's an interesting topic out there. You can't ignore this topic. It can be used across 4 papers. Trust me on this. You can use this information across 4 papers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and in your essay out there. If your optional is humanities based, even you can use these case studies, examples, stats out there to obviously enrich your answer out there, to impress an examiner and fetch that extra half an mark that will help you to get a rank or a name in that holy PDF. Get a name in that holy PDF out there. So let's see, sir, India's poverty challenge. As you can see, sir, India is a developing nation out there. India is a typical developing nation. A lot of people live below poverty line. What's a below poverty line? Now, we don't have a concrete definition of a below poverty line. There has been a lot of committees that's been established, like Tendulkar Committee, Ranganathan Committee. But again, there is no standardized definition when it comes to what's the minimum criteria, what's the minimum income bar below which a person or household can be called as a below poverty line. Below poverty line. So I think that's a minimum thing what we can do. Again, let's go on to the PPT, what we are going to study. That's poverty. Again, India, the world's 5th largest economy, continues to grapple with the significant socio-economic disparities. Now it has, as per the news, it has become the 4th largest economy. 4th largest economy just after US, China and Germany. It has become a 4th largest out there. And it aims to be a 5 trillion economy out there. It aims to be a 5 trillion economy out there. And it's not going to be easy part out there. It's not going to be easy path. There will be several roadblocks. There will be several roadblocks out there. There will be several bottlenecks out there. There will be several roadblocks, bottlenecks. That's gonna, create a lot of problem. Create a lot of problem out there for India to achieve that target of 5 trillion economy. To achieve that target of 5 trillion economy out there. Okay. So let's move on to the next slide out there. These are some statistics. You can use them. You can throw them in across your 4 papers out there. It's going to be really helpful to fetch that extra mark that's going to help you to land a name in your holy PDF out there. It's extremely important that you play with statistics. Use one statistic, but use that across 4 papers. That's what a real smart work is, or application of a knowledge is. There is no need to memorize several thoughts, several perspectives, or several statistics out there. Anyway, you're not going to use everything out there at once. So it's really important to play smart. Pick up a one stat, memorize that, use that across all your 4 papers, fetch that extra mark, get a rank, move on. That's it. That's how life goes on. That's how you should make things easy. Don't take a lot of burden out there. Okay. As per wealth held by top 1% 2021, top 1% in 2021, Oxfam India says 40.5% population, wealth is owned by the top 1% out there. Top 1% out there. Now, this is multi-dimensional poverty. That is 15% out there right now, as per Niti Aayog. Poverty in India is measured as a multidimensional poverty index. We don't see poverty only in terms of economic sense. We see poverty in terms of health, education, living standards. All these stuff help to understand what's a multidimensional perspective is. There are typically in economics called two types of poverty out there. Two types of poverty. Two types of poverty called absolute poverty, absolute poverty, and relative poverty. And relative poverty. Now, what's the difference between an absolute and a relative poverty? So, when I'm not able to afford even a two times, even I would say proper two times meal in a day, that would be considered as an absolute poverty. If I'm not able to hold that or provide that meal to my family, that will be considered as an absolute poverty. This is a true poverty out there. This is considered to be a true poverty in its sense. True poverty in the sense because you're not even getting the basic requirements of a life that's called roti, kapda, and makan. You're not even able to afford that three essentials of life that's called roti, kapda, and makan. That will be considered as a absolute poverty. But what's this concept of relative poverty? It's a very interesting concept out there, sir. So, for example, say I drive a certain car, say Creta. There is my friend who drives Mercedes. Now, with respect to when I compare myself with my best friend out there, I'll feel that yeah, I don't have that enough resources out there. I'm not able to drive that fancy car called Mercedes out there. I'm still in a Creta right now. What I'm doing in life, I'm poor as compared to him. There will be some sort of inferiority complex that will develop over a period of time. That's called relative poverty. It's nothing but a comparison with another person. It's nothing but a comparison with another person in terms of economic resources. Comparison with another person. Comparison with another person in terms of what you called economic resources. Economic resources. So, for example, every person can feel a relative poverty concept, or when you compare yourself with Ambani's or Adani's out there. That's how thing works. Everyone feels that sort of depressed or inferiority complex when you see Elon Musk or Jack Ma out there, or Jeff Bezos for that matter. So that's how thing works. When you compare yourself with someone who is higher in terms of economic standards and the standard of living out there, you consider yourself as a relative poor person out there. Relative poor person. And relative poverty, it's not a true poverty out there. It's a self-created problem out there. Self-created problem out there. It's a self-created problem out there. And again, sir, social media has amplified this problem to a lot. Social media has amplified this problem to a lot, because how are you going to compare yourself with other persons out there on a regular basis? Through social media, you see posts, oh, someone is going to Switzerland, someone is there in Denmark out there. We are still living in India and doing that all routine chores or drudgery work out there. That's again a draining part out there in terms when you think about that someone is living a better than you. And when you think and add another condition, when you think that you are more capable, more intelligent as compared to the person who is living a better life out there, trust me, it's nothing. It's like a hell. It's like a hell. You're just feeling a hell that someone is doing absolutely phenomenal and you are doing not, but he's not that talented as I am. That's how destiny is. That's how life is. No one says life's gonna be fair out there. No one says life's gonna be fair. It's tough. It's tough for people, especially those who are coming from a middle class background, because it's very difficult to change your class. It's very difficult to change your class over a short span of time. Over a short span of time. So I think that's how life is. That's how life is. That's what relative poverty is. It can be in terms of economic resources. It can be even in terms of looks. This is another dimension that I'm adding. You can use that in your essay as well. Because when you look at the social media, you want to look good. Every person is putting out media out there, using filters out there. But sir, hey, look, even I want to look good. Even I want to look that impressive out there. It's a social validation out there. I'm feeling a poverty. It's a look poverty out there. I'm feeling inferiority complex. Hey, this person is look good. I doesn't look good. I will not get so much of likes and followers out there in social media. What am I gonna do with this? That's that's creating a depressing class. That's creating a depressing class out there. That's creating a depressing class. Even relative poverty out there, it's creating a depressing youth. You must have seen there are a lot of people that's going through a depression out there. The whole generation is nothing but a victim of depression. And that's not a clinical depression out there. It's a self-created problem out there. That's creating a lot of depression out there. That's creating a lot of depression out there. It's a self-creating problem that's creating a lot of depression out there, especially among the youth and adolescents out there. Especially among the youth and adolescents out there. So, of course, yeah, that's a problem. That's relative poverty. Absolute poverty is nothing. It's whenever you see a beggar out there who can't even afford a basic minimum of life, that's called roti, kapra, and makan, you consider him as an absolute poor out there. 80 crore people who are still dependent on PDS, can't afford even a quality food grain out there, that's considered to be an absolute poverty out there. That's considered to be an absolute poverty out there. I hope you got this concept of relative and absolute poverty out there. Again, with terms of multi-dimensional perspective, we do look at the certain other elements as well. We do look at the certain elements as well. There is this concept called cultural poverty as well. There is this concept of cultural poverty as well. What's cultural poverty? So there was this recent outrage that happened on Twitter. Where a Gujarati family was doing a garba in something, I think Dubai or other state, and they were criticized. How could you do that? That's not even a civic sense out there. You are doing that on road. You're doing that on, that's pathetic out there. How could you do that? So that's really important, sir. That's really important. Civic sense is very important. You need to respect the rules and regulations of a particular nation out there. You can't just do garba out there in a street and block that street. Even a recent, some Indian Gujarati family, they were living in a US out there. And the person blocked the whole Wall Street just because he was a banning out there. Marriage was taking place. A lot of people were dancing around him. Even 600-700 people were. They all blocked the Wall Street out there. How are you gonna? You have money. You're living in US. You're living closer by the Wall Street out there. You have everything out there, but still you don't have a cultural sense or a civic sense out there. That's called a cultural poverty. When you don't have that sense, when you don't have that class, when you don't have that sophistication, when you don't have that flamboyance, when you don't have that attractiveness, that simplicity is an ultimate trait of a sophistication. That's what even UPSC asked in this essay exam. If you don't have that, that's called a cultural poverty. That's have a cultural poverty. If your culture, say for example, you have a lot of money out there, but if your culture doesn't tell you, give you a kind of socialization out there that, look, education is important, books is important, money is important, that's that's universal truth out there. Money is important, but quality life is very important. You need to respect, you need to know how to speak in front of people. Communication skills is still very relevant in age of AI. Still very relevant, sir. It's one of the major key criteria to crack down any interview out there. One of the major key criteria. Especially when you talk about all these skills, AI, all that stuff, quantum computing, all cyber security out there. Communication skills still hold a lot of importance. Out there. I hope you got this. What's a cultural poverty out there? Then there is, sir, nutritional poverty. There is a concept called nutritional poverty. Again, that's a part of multidimensional poverty as well. When you look at the nutritional poverty, it's a part of multidimensional poverty as well. When you don't get that adequate amount of resources in your body, that leads to a nutritional poverty. It doesn't matter if you're getting a PDS out there, you're getting a poor food quality out there. Wheat and rice doesn't fulfill your nutritional balance out there, doesn't provide you that basic carbs, basic vitamins, or all these proteins out there. That's how life goes. Let me give you an example for this. Nutritional deficiency. Nutritional deficiency. So, for example, take a woman out there. She's a woman. she's a woman, but she's malnourished. She is malnourished. Doesn't have equivalent amount of a balanced amount of nutrition in her body. She's getting it 2 times a meal. She's getting it 2 times a meal in a day, getting all that stuff of wheat, rice, or coarse grains out there, but she's malnourished because she is anemic out there. Doesn't have too much of hemoglobin out there, doesn't have too much of protein intake out there, so there's a deficiency out there. She's pregnant, gonna give birth to a girl. Again, girl will be malnourished or undernourished. Will be undernourished. Now she will be undernourished. Assume that after a certain amount of time, she'll also become a pregnant out there. She'll also become a pregnant out there. And gonna give birth again to girl who will be a malnourished. Now what's this? This is nothing but a vicious cycle. Vicious cycle of nutrition deficiency out there. Vicious cycle. Again, that woman will grow up, will become pregnant, gonna give birth to someone who will be undernourished. That's generational nutrition deficiency. Generational nutritional deficiency out there. Okay, I hope you got this point. I hope you got all this stuff. I hope you got all this stuff out there. Let's go on to the PPT. Out there and look what's going on. Some major, again, not. I hope you got these points. You have noted down this stuff. Again, sir, there is a divide called a rural-urban divide. Now, let me give you another perspective out there. What do you think about the people? People in urban sector probably will earn more as compared to rural sector. But the kind of food urban people are consuming, that's a fast food out there. There has been a rise in deterioration of health among youth in urban sector as compared to rural sector, as compared to rural India. Why? Quality of food differs, sir. There's still pure quality of food that's been applicable in the rural India. There has been a lot of I would say adulterants that's been there in the fast food out there, that's been consumed by the youth out there in the urban sector. So that's the problem. The quality of food, the quality of lifestyle is there. A lot of people debate about the fast food. A lot of people don't give time to food. They don't chew it on a time. They chew it excessively fast out there. Doesn't give too much of respect to the food out there. That's been the problem with the urban youth out there. They don't respect food out there. But when you talk about the rural segment out there, a lot of people give respect to the food. They obviously pray before eating that food, and again, it's better. The air quality is better. The water is comparatively fresh. Food is less adulterant, or I would say it's a more natural diet out there that's been there. If you look at the Haryana out there, a lot of sportsmen are coming out of that. Why? Because the food is decent as compared to the other states out there. So that plays a lot of important aspects in eliminating poverty out there. An ill body can't help you to escape a poverty. Ill body can't help you to eradicate or escape poverty. How? So to eradicate poverty, a lot of effort is needed. If I want to eradicate my generational poverty out there, I need to be strong enough. I need to be physically fit and mentally fit in order to escape that thing, in order to escape that curse. I need to work a lot. And I only can work a lot when my body suits this. Then my body allowed to do that. Otherwise, there will be no point. We will gonna remain in that generational trap out there, in this vicious circle out there, and there will be no escape. Out there. I hope you got these points. Let's move on to the next slide. Now, so what are the major challenges, economic factors? What's the major challenges that's been hindering or creating a lot of bottlenecks and hurdles in the path of India to eradicate absolute poverty out there? There has been a lot of factors out there. There's not these only 4 factors. You can think a lot about that by doing a brainstorming out there. By thinking, by reading quality magazines like EPW and all these stuff. But again, will you get a time to note down all these points in your exam? No, you won't. because on an average you're only going to get 7 to 8 minutes to write a particular answer in a very short span of time, and you have to complete 20 answers within a 3 hour span. That itself is a task. Don't get bogged down by a lot of stuff out there. Select and read as per the requirement of the exam. That's what I want to convey. That's it. That's what I want to convey. I hope you got this. Okay, let me get back to these major challenges. Informal economy, sir. As you have seen in my previous classes, I've seen that there has been 80% of population or workforce has been employed in an informal sector. What's the meaning of informal sector? Again, sir, when you talk about the informal sector out there, you can even look that a lot of people are employed in a what you called doing or selling stuff or food in street carts or food carts out there. That's informal sector. Major hurdle is you're not getting a permanent salary. You're not getting any set of emergency funds or emergency certificates in form of life insurance or health insurance. So again, it can provide you money, it cannot. There is maybe or maybe not certain things. So there is no social security, there is no stable employment, and often learning low wages. That's the problem. Low salary doesn't make you rich. Salary doesn't make you rich. Either you work in McKinsey out there or you work in some informal sector out there. Salary will not make you rich. That's the core universal truth out there. That's exactly what happens. But low wages will not even help you to have a decent standard of living. Will not even help you to sustain a decent standard of living out there. That's how thing works. Because that's how thing works. Okay. Agriculture dependence. Again, sir, over 45% of workforce is agriculture dependent, and agriculture is it's not a lucrative career option right now at this moment, because a lot of even youth that's coming from the agriculture family migrate to the urban centers to earn better, because it's not a lucrative career out there. It's not gonna reap you a lot of benefits out there, not gonna help you to increase your income. Exception if you are coming from a large agriculture family out there, if you do have a lot of acres out there, but that's not a case with everyone out there. That's exception out there. That's an exception out there. So, sir, low wages, agriculture dependence, and agriculture dependence come with a one thing that's called disguised unemployment. That's called disguised unemployment out there. That's called disguised unemployment there. And when you talk about the disguised unemployment there, I'm directly telling you that the marginal productivity is zero. That a marginal productivity is zero. What's marginal productivity? By employing one more member, I'm not producing any additional output in the agricultural land. That's called marginal productivity. It represents change. If you have studied derivatives in your class 12th as a mathematics out there, you would be aware about that. That's called a delta change out there. Doesn't lead to any change. It's called disguised unemployment. It's the complete wastage of a human resource out there, disguised hidden unemployment. It's a complete wastage of human resource and resources out there. So again, agriculture dependence will not help you to eradicate or come out of that vicious circle that's been created by your ancestors or by the circumstances or by the system as per the Karl Marx out there. So again, you are being stuck in the capitalism system. You have been stuck in the capitalism system, and it's extremely difficult to come out of that circle at the moment. Completely difficult. Again, sir, there has been a growth. Again, India has become a fourth largest economy, but it's a jobless growth out there. Unemployment has been all-time high. Jobs are not created. It's a service-oriented economy, not a manufacturing zone. Manufacturing is the employment elastic. It can generate a lot of jobs out there, but we are not manufacturing sector dominating country out there. Service sector is being there, but again, service sector can produce limited amount of jobs out there. Government jobs, there are not many seats out there, and even government can't pay them. That's how things work. So, the economic expansion doesn't translate into sufficient formal job creation, particularly for the youth, as IMF said in 2022. As IMF said in 2022 out there. As IMF said in 2022 out there. Limited access to finance. Again, so it's a problem of thin file clients. Thin file clients. Bad credit score. Flat credit score doesn't help you to get a lot of loan out there. For example, if someone is coming from not so affluent family out there, not so much of affluent family out there, he wants to do a startup out there or do something business out there. He need a capital out there. Where would he get that? He would get that from a bank out there at a rate of interest, but the bank will not lend him because he is a thin file client or a bad credit score out there. What's thin file client? He doesn't have excessive or government resources to showcase that he's a prominent one in which bank needs to invest, or as you can say, what we can do, or doesn't have that much of a collateral security with him. So he, of course, he can't get loan out there. Again, now where would he get the loan? He would get loan from informal sector at a completely informal sector at higher rate of interest, and it will push him into a what we call a debt crisis. It will push him into a what we call a debt crisis out there, that trap out there. He will always gonna remain in that trap, and coming out of trap itself requires a lot of luck, I would say. A lot of luck, sir. So I would say that's a lot of things required to come out of the poverty zone out there. It's been tremendously, I would say, destroying human resource, destroying the human effort out there. What you need is a government support out there, support of a civil society organization out there, support, I would say, even a destiny as well. It's very relevant out there. Never underestimate your destiny. That's how thing works. So of course, there have been major challenges. Economic factors is informal economy, agriculture dependence, jobless growth that's been going on, limited access to finance, especially for people who are not coming from an affluent background out there. So I hope, sir, I hope you will get these points. I hope you will get these points out there. I hope you will get these points out there. Now let's move on to the next PPT out there. Sir, another, there has been a social and structural barriers. What, sir? The first system is a caste system, sir, out there. Caste system. Sir, I've discussed earlier that caste has an impact on class as well. On class. Now, class is a completely economic concept out there. Let me give you an example out there. It's been started with the Verne system. Verne system is nothing but an occupational division that's created for the, I would say, to facilitate proper functioning of a society out there. Now, so what? Caste has interchangeably, or caste has significant impact on class. Person coming from a low class or a Shudra background will not get adequate amount of opportunities out there. Whereas a person that's coming from upper class out there or upper caste out there, he will get an ample amount of resources out there, ample amount of opportunities out there. Because in history as well, as we can see that they were allowed to study. Whereas the people coming from a lower caste out there or a lower one out there, they were not allowed to study that much. Now, what's the case, sir? What's the case? The lower segment, the lower caste people will not get adequate amount of resources, not get adequate amount of education out there. That will not help them to eradicate the poverty, the generation poverty that's been going on from generation to generation, transferring from one generation to another generation. Whereas the person who is allowed to study, he has been, of course, society will offer him a lot of opportunities out there, and eventually he will be able to get out of that poverty zone that's created there with this previous generation. Now look at an example. B.R. Ambedkar. He had a tough life out there. But education becomes one of his route to uplift his economic class and social status as well. He has studied from, I think, London School of Economics and Yale as well. And his thesis on economy is still relevant in present time. You can read that. He's a genius. Nothing short of a genius. If you compare his intellectual magnitude and amplification, he is there right at the top of the pyramid. Out there. So let me see that. That's one of the barriers out there. The another is, sir, digital divide and regional disparities. Digital divide. Okay, sir, let me give you a digital divide. So as you know that it's the age of internet out there. EdTech, especially if you talk about EdTech, a lot of education has taking place online out there. A lot of people learn new skills or new stuff or new books, about new lessons out there. So for example, if you're studying UPSC, you'll be to some extent will be dependent on a social media, will be dependent on a YouTube out there, of dependent on a Twitter for certain facts out there. But sir, again, is it possible that everyone will have that sort of application or accessibility of that YouTube or that Twitter out there? No, sir. It's a digital divide out there. There are still a lot of rural sector out there in which electricity is still not there. Is still not there. So as a result, there has been a digital divide. A person who has access to resources, who has access to digital medium, will have an added advantage over that person who doesn't have access to that resources or that social media thing. That's creating a lot of, providing a lot of content to you at free cost. So all these okay. And yes, sir, Zoom. I'll do that. Okay. So one of the aspects is a digital divide. Again, see, life is tough. There will be a segment out there when people are coming from an affluent background. See, it's simple. For example, if UPSC is there, if one person is there who is studying in a MacBook, who is getting all sort of nutrients out there, who doesn't have any sort of tension, he's just focused on clearing his exam. He has all that access, all access to resources, all access to coaching, all access to good diet out there that brings value addition and improves productivity. And there's another guy who is working, who doesn't have option to drop out from job because he has to sustain his family, who is not getting a nutritional meal out there because he's living far away from family. He has a lot of responsibilities. He's an elder son. Now just think about that. Will that affluent person or that person that's been there in a job, who has a better chance of clearing a UPSC exam out there? Because it's an affluent one. It's an affluent one because there has been a less pressure out there. Pressure creates a lot of things out there. There are certain people who can't thrive on pressure, and there are certain people who can thrive on pressure. But additional pressure and too much of pressure does hinder your productivity out there, and that happens in the civil service examination as well. When you see that there is a lot of people in the top 100 ranks that's coming from a decent family, their parents are already in the services out there. That's how thing works. So again, sir, lot of things. There are a lot of things that create poverty. Again, economic factors is one of these stuff. Economic factors. It comes with social factors. It comes with health factors. A ill body won't help you to sustain in long run. You need a healthy body and a healthy mind to come out that poverty trap. Because if your body is not healthy, how you gonna work hard in order to improve your social and economic status out there? That's how thing works, sir. You need a perfect body in terms of healthy body. Not that gym body out there, but a body that has a sufficient nutrients out there in terms of vitamins, minerals, and all these fats and carb stuff. Okay. So again, medical factors. And you need, again, sir, what? To come out of that poverty vicious cycle. You need system support. You need system support. Now, what system? By mean of system, we need a government support. We need a government facility, government support out there. The government facilitate the progress of those people who are at the downtrodden of the pyramid. They need to do certain thing, and reservation is one of the aspects to undo the historical injustice that's been there with the caste system as well, as Supreme Court also told that. But sir, again, it's for SC and ST only. What about all those people? EWS, economically weaker section, has been come out by the government. That's again, it's a very revolutionary step out there in order to bring or create a lot of opportunities for these people who are not coming from very affluent families out there. That's how things works, sir. So again, system support is very important to come out of the poverty. Even subsidies that's been provided is nothing but a government support out there. Subsidies, government facilitation or government support, reservation, subsidies in education. As you can see, the fees of AIMS, All India Institute of Medical Science, is just 6,000. It's as subsidized. Subsidies on health, education. Subsidized loans. Mudra Yojana has been available to a lot of women out there in order to encourage them to start their own business out there, to create independence, to not be dependent on their counterpart, that's on their husband and in-laws, to become a financially independent out there. That's how government is improving things on a ground level, but a lot needs to be done over the period of time. A lot needs to be done over a period of time. This will not help you in order to sustain that. A lot has been done, a lot needs to be done, and that's where a distance lies. We're going to see how much time government will take. We're going to see how economy will react, because it's a time where the jobless growth is high. The country is growing. It has become a fourth largest economy right after US, China and Germany. There has been a name of India, but sir, it's a jobless growth out there. It's a jobless because again, we are not a manufacturing sector out there. Manufacturing does create employment. It's an employment elastic industry out there. It's an employment elastic industry out there. But we are services dependent, and services industry has a limitation in creating a lot of jobs out there, because they can't create a lot of jobs out there. And especially when it comes to government jobs out there, you can see yourself, there has been a limited number of seats where 50% with the reservation out there. How can you take that? So jobs are not being created. There has been a lot of PhD students out there that's been applying for peon jobs out there. That's what the situation is. So we want to reap demographic dividend. But it's looking like that we are going towards a demographic disaster out there. We're going towards a demographic disaster out there. And that's a very serious issue, because we are not utilizing our human resource. We are not utilizing our young workforce out there that's been there in the market out there. How are we going to do that? Of course, sir, by doing ease of doing business, by facilitating ease of doing business, by helping people to create a lot of industries out there. A lot of industries will produce a lot of jobs, and eventually jobs possibly will help you to improve your standard of living. It will help you to improve your standard of living. Once who is earning a 10,000 rupees, if a better job is created, he will earn a 50,000 rupees out there. It will improve a standard of living out there. There is no chance that it will not. That's how thing works. इंग्लिश मिक्स पढ़ाइए जाए तो 20-10 Okay, got it. Subsidies on health and education, of course. Subsidies on reservation, subsidies on food. That's been a PDS system out there, public distribution system, and MSP. What else government is doing? Scholarships available for meritorious students. What another thing government is doing? Again, a lot of schemes have been come up, like PM Mudra Yojana. For cheap loans. These are the stuff that the government is doing. Of course, they are doing better in terms of ground, but a lot needs to be done over the period of time. So these are certain policies. Like Narega for job employment. 100 days employment has been guaranteed by the government out there. PM Kisan Yojana for subsidy that's been given to the farmers out there, especially to the small farmers out there. Again, National Food Security Act, Jan Dhan Yojana, to open a bank account in order to provide a direct benefit transfer. Out there. These are certain government policies that's been doing good. But a lot needs to be done. Especially when it comes to absolute poverty, government can do a bit. But when it comes to a relative poverty, Jan Dhan Yojana. What's a Jan Dhan Yojana? It will help you to open an account it will deepen financial inclusion out there. It will deepen financial inclusion out there. A lot of people will open account. It will facilitate direct benefit transfer out there. So government can directly transfer the subsidy amount in the bank account out there. So it will avoid the leakages. It will avoid the transfer of money to those people who doesn't deserve that. That's how thing works. That's how thing works. Again, this is very much relevant for the absolute poverty out there. But when it comes to relative poverty, what's a relative poverty? Again, I've told you in my earlier sessions as well. It's a comparison. For example, if I am driving a Creta out there and my friend is driving a Mercedes out there, it will create a certain amount of inferiority complex. That okay, yeah, I'm not that wealthy enough. My friend who is not even as talented as I am is driving Mercedes, but I'm driving Creta. That's relative poverty. I'm comparing myself with my friend out there. This is a self-created poverty out there. A lot of people, a lot of our generation and Gen Z are being a target of this or a victim of this. So this needs a psychological shift out there. A lot of mentoring needs to be done. A lot of good parenting needs to be done in order to protect your child or adolescent from what we call a depression out in these days. Okay, so I hope you got these points. I hope you enjoyed this session. Again, I'm going to come with another session where I'm going to explain you Lorentz curve. It's about the inequality curve that's been there, but I need a time to explain that. So let me give back to you. Thanks for this. Thanks for having me. Cheers. ठीक है मैं पीडीएफ को बेटर कर दूंगा यार. मैं पीडीएफ को थोड़ा और इंक्रीज कर दूं, तो जूम आउट कर दूं. जूम कैसे करते हैं? ठीक है, डन. अब मे बी शायद बेटर होगा. Probably watch for next time. Thanks for this.